All right, welcome back to TV3Newday. And yes, we're running live on Facebook. So please tune in and watch us. The hashtag is TV3Newday, also live on DSTV channel 279. Good morning to you. If you just tuned in, it is time now for the big issue. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Now, before I even introduce my guest to you, let's quickly take a look at what we will be discussing first for today. Now, a very interesting video has popped up, actually, of the Vice President touting the achievements of gold for oil policy. But even before that, remember that it was sometime last year that the Vice President announced that a new policy was going to be implemented, gold for oil, and this was supposed to address the challenges concerning high fuel prices and, of course, the challenges with forex in the country as well. So we were going to come up with a policy that would exchange our gold, which will be purchased from small-scale miners, and that will be exchanged for oil from the international market. A lot of people raised eyebrows about it, but regardless, the policy was implemented. And so let's take a look at how many consignments we have received since it was announced. We're told that the first consignment came in January. Let's hear from the NPA to give us the statistics with regards to that, and we'll come back and have a conversation about it.
We have received 5 cargoes under the program. 3 of these cargoes are diesel and 2 are petrol. In January, we received 1 diesel cargo, which was about 41,000 metric tons. In the month of February, we received another diesel cargo, which was also about 42,000 metric tons. And in this month, we received another diesel cargo, which is about 42,000 metric tons as well. So since January, we've received 1 diesel cargo per month. For petrol, we've received 2 cargos so far, and we received 1 in February, and which was about 30,000 metric tons, and we received another in March, which was about 37,000 metric tons. So, but we have another cargo that has arrived, which is a petrol cargo, but it is here to berth and discharge. So it is at Anchorage as we speak. So these are the cargos we've received under the program so far.
Right, and that is the NPA. But when this was announced by the Vice President, he was very emphatic about what he knew that this, policy was going to sort of fight. And he said it was an intervention to help stabilize the prices of fuel products. As it stands now, the IES has indicated that fuel prices are going to fall between 3 to 10% starting from today. Then yesterday, a video popped up of the Vice President making a statement concerning what he touts as the successes of the gold for oil policy, which is why we're seeing fuel prices go down. Take a look.
% of oil imports under this policy. The goal is to move to 100%, and that will be done this year. We will see this done with, and we'll work with the BDCs to make this happen. But the savings in foreign exchange when we do this will be an annual saving of around $4.8 billion US dollars every year when we get this done. And that means that the oil importing companies, the BDCs, will not be going to the Bank of Ghana and looking for $4.8 billion to buy oil. We will buy that oil with that gold with our cedis, convert it into the oil payment, and therefore that demand will no longer be there. We have to understand the prices of fuel will go up and will come down. But what we expect to see under the gold for oil policy is more stability in the pricing and also savings in foreign exchange. There's more to come. This is the 3rd month of the operation of the policy. Just the 3rd month. Some people said it will not work. Ghana doesn't have enough gold. How can you say that? We've been mining this gold for 200 years. They keep taking it out, and it cannot work for us. It doesn't make sense.
And he says, let the bleeding continue or begin. That's the Vice President speaking on gold for oil policy. But it's interesting that he's saying this because the industry players are the ones who raise eyebrows from the onset of the announcement of this policy. And in fact, they have responded to him. Let's hear from Mr. Benjamin Boachi. He's the MD for ASEP, and this is what he had to say.
I'm in shock, really. I'm hearing what the Vice President was saying. Unless you are looking at something else. But if you're really analyzing the industry and how the pricing mechanics works, you would note that it has nothing to do with gold for oil. We are seeing prices on the international market drop, to today about $73 per barrel of Brent, and even 66 for WTI. And indications are that it is even going to drop further. These have implications for petroleum products on the market, and that is what is forcing prices down, against the fact that the cedi has been stable for the past couple of weeks, if not months. So these are the fundamental drivers of the price that we are seeing. And I think it's a general attitude that even if we see price go up tomorrow, they'll have something to say. They say, oh, that one is international price. But when it's coming down, it's gold for oil. That is not what we do. We analyze policy based on the drivers, the factors that underpin, the occurrence on the market. I think you can blame them when you're a politician or a pedestrian who doesn't understand how the industry works. But if you understand the mechanics and what influences price, you have to analyze them based on those. But the point I was making substantially is that it is not gold for oil that has brought down the price. And that is a fact. If you listen to any industry watcher beyond the government itself, who is just trying to communicate to the uninitiated.
Mr. Benjamin Boachi, the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Energy Policy, and he was very emphatic when he said that it's actually not the gold for oil policy that has brought down the prices at the pumps. Joining us this morning, lawyer Beatrice Annan is here, and she's been busy traveling around the country, of course, in her capacity as deputy spokesperson for John Dramani Mahama's campaign. Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine, but I'm tired.
I know.
I know. I was in the Bono East, the Bono region, and the Hafo region with President Mahama. And we were meeting. We went to all the constituencies in the region.
What?
Yeah.
In the space of how many days?
5 days.
5 days?
5 days. So it was very tiring.
3 regions in 5 days?
Yes, 3 regions in 5 days. Visiting all the constituencies. And I think that it's beginning to shape my perception and mentality as a young politician. And some way, somehow, I'm grateful to President Mahama. I'll be happy about that.
You want to trim a bit? Then this is a good one for you.
Oh, yes, I think so. And some way, somehow, I'm very grateful for that opportunity as a young girl with that perception. It gives me confidence that my party is a party for young people. But most importantly, what I saw is that Ghana was not a car. And what many people needed were the roads, the schools, the water, the electricity. One thing that was instructive for me was that much as we were meeting delegates, you had many young people troop in to, of course, President Mahama was around to listen and watch. And so normally I would leave the entourage and want to interact with these young people, also because they see me on TV,
exactly.
So it makes it a bit easier. And it appears to me that gradually our party has become very attractive to young people. But most importantly, the young people have an expectation that their lives will be better, that they would have, for them, they are not looking at being lawyers or medical doctors. They want to be plumbers, they want to be mason, they want to be these... So artisans.
And that's where the money actually is.
Of course, there is a lot of money there. And for me, I think that we owe it a duty. And sometime when President Mahama was speaking, I remember yesterday asking him, how is it that you understand the dynamics of each constituency? Because you get to a place and you say, so I remember the Kwame Danso Road. And I was like, how is it that you do this? But yes,
he's done this for so long, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
but it tells me that we need to.
Started long ago.
Yeah.
So it tells me that
from Rollins's time and all, right?
It tells me that we need to understand the people we seek to lead in order to address the need. But I'm very excited that for the delegates, everywhere we went, it was 100% endorsement. They understood the timing. They understand their assignment, and they kept saying that if you don't get 100%, then the rest was a spoiled ballot. And
Well.
I'm grateful for the people, beautiful people in Bono
Well
East,
done.
Ahafo, and the Bono region.
Get some rest.
And how
Get some
We are
rest.
going back to
How is
Kumasi
your
on
feet
Saturday.
doing?
Okay, well.
My feet are hurting.
Your feet are excellent. Don't worry, we have to book for a massage for you. But let's quickly take a look at something. I'll introduce my next two guests for you shortly. Let's quickly take a look. Well, so at the moment you're looking at the gold for oil cycle and of course where it goes to. In fact, the fact that there's even an intermediary in all of this as well, even before we're able to get the exchange of the gold for the oil. And so that is the cycle on there. And I believe that at this point, and as we move along, I'm sure we'll touch on this a lot more. But let's move on and introduce our next set of guests this morning. We're talking about the gold for oil policy. Also joining us in the studio. Okay, well, you know what? Well, let's introduce Nanaya Chimpim Jantwa. She is also the General Secretary for the CPP. And I always tell her that I love it when she wears African prints. I absolutely love it. She looks so royal and regal.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm fine, my dear. I'm fine.
You had a good week?
Yeah, it's a good weekend. I told you my sister was 70.
Yes. Oh, belated happy birthday.
Yeah, that's
we wish
your friend's
mother.
Yes. Yes, and we had a program for her.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that Ghana, we don't celebrate our own. She worked at the Attorney General's department for immediately after law school.
Okay.
And she was there. She worked at the prosecution's department, and she went to the civil, became a chief state attorney, and at a point became the solicitor general of the Attorney General. So she was 70 and we celebrated her. But as I looked at her and I even looked at my own situation, I told myself, is it worth to sacrifice for Ghana?
Why?
Yes, she was. And I don't think, after all the work she has done, I don't think anybody even remembers what she did. And during these awards that they gave, the team they gave, she was there. They all worked on this boundary thing. She was there with Joe Gatti and all the people.
And she was left out.
Yeah. And even some of the
So
people
sorry.
who were awarded, I was thinking, all the work that Amma did, and why no recognition?
Did you find out?
No.
There's no need?
No, she's a Jantwa. What do you expect MPP to do?
You
to
think
a
that just for
Jantwa?
the fact that she's a Jantwa,
Yeah,
that is
she's
why
a
she was
CPP.
not?
Yes, she's a CPP.
But isn't that conjecture?
It's not. I know what I'm talking about. This is an ancient fool kind of thing. I mean, what did she do? She did work really well. Some of the people that she even trained were awarded. But she's my sister, so let me just celebrate her and not talk about that. Somebody would say because she's my sister, but
yeah.
I am just separating the relationship from the reality. The reality is that this is somebody who worked for Ghana, and in the line of duty got an accident, and now she's walking around with all manner of
AIDS.
AIDS. Did you get me? So, I mean, truly, when I sat behind the television and I saw the colors of the elephant being honored, and I said, where is Amajantwa? But I know in due time, God in his own way
Yeah.
Yeah.
would celebrate her. The
Definitely.
same thing happened with my dad, who got independence for Ghana. He died and with no help from state. He was old, and even at his funeral, nobody came. And yes,
Nobody from government?
nobody from government was there. So the point is that that is what it is. So if I tell you that the person is a Jantwa, the Asian food, you know, those days the UP and the CPP was like today NDCS.
Yeah.
So it has been carried, because if they do not like Kwame Nkrumah, how would they want Jantwa?
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
I
a
mean,
belated happy birthday
Yeah,
to your
belated happy
sister.
birthday to Auntie Amma. She's done
Yeah.
so much for Ghana, and if Ghana would not celebrate her, we, her siblings, my brother Kwame, and all of us, Mami Brago, all of us, Mami Dufie, and my mom, we all celebrate her greatly.
And good morning to Lawyer Kwame Jantua. I owe you a phone call. I'll call you. I know you can hear. You are watching me from this side, but I'm just saying it's on air. But also joining us, and this is one person I haven't seen in years, literally. I mean, sometimes we talk on WhatsApp, but it's been such a long time. Vera Redu, member of MPP Communications team. Welcome.
Thank you, sweetheart.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very great.
Okay. Where have you been?
I'm all over the place.
But not here.
You know you are my sweetheart, so I've been trying to dodge you, but today
You've been trying to dodge me when I'm your sweetheart. How is that even possible?
Because we always meet on
How
phone,
is that even possible?
We always meet.
But it's
I'm not
good to see you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And everything has been good for you as well this week?
It's been great. I always tell people that we should always be grateful for our lives and health. That is the most paramount thing as a human. Any other thing is, I think, is an excess. Because when you are not alive, nothing really matters. And so once this morning we are here, I am very grateful to Almighty. And of course, I believe in giving respect to all those that are due. Respect is due them. So I think that I will quickly say a very wonderful good morning to our president and his able vice and their spouses. I think this week our mother, beautiful,
Rebecca,
wonderful
yes. It was her birthday.
Rebecca, yes, it was her birthday. I will also wish her belated happy birthday and to the first female chief of staff, affable, hardworking mother, Mama Frema, and all the women out there, especially those who support their own women and the men who also support women. Part of my job is also I do gender advocacy, so I really applaud especially the men. And the women should continue to push.
Absolutely. I mean, in that case, then, Auntie Amma, the sister of Nanaya Jantua, yes, Mrs. Amma Jantua Bamfo, that's her name. And the concerns
she's also
Nanaya
my sweetheart.
raised.
She's just in her usual element, so I think...
Her usual elements, which is
what do you mean by my usual elements?
Which is what exactly?
I'm talking about a serious matter. You want to start quarrel right now? What is usual element? This is a very serious matter we are talking about. This is somebody who has worked so much in this country. We are talking about usual elements.
Maybe we should just move on. I apologize. I brought it up and maybe I should have left it. I should have left it there.
Don't say my issue. This is not politics we are talking about.
Politics you are doing.
What are you talking about?
Let's leave it and move on. Let's leave it. Vera, and I'll start with you because we've heard from the Vice President. It's been 3 months since the policy really started, and it's been 3 months since we started receiving our consignments. At the moment, MPA says we've received 5 consignments that we've offloaded. There's 1 that is yet to be offloaded. But in just these 3 months, the Vice President says that's the reason why we're seeing a decline in fuel prices in the country. ASEP says that's not possible. What do you say?
What I would say is that first and foremost, I need to commend Ghanaians. I commend Ghanaians highly for keeping faith with the MPP government. And I know they are keeping faith with us because they know of our track record. They know we've done it before. They know we got to the worst that we could get to as an MPP government. They know that currently we are getting out of it gradually, and they believe we will surely get them out, as the president indicated during the height of COVID. He said, we don't know how to bring back people back to life, but of course we know how to turn the economy around. And so that is exactly what we are doing. And Bella, you and I know that in this country, when the prices of commodities, especially with the crude oil, went really, really high, every person in this country alluded that to bad economic management and all that. And of course, if today measures have been put in place and we are seeing a downward trend of the prices and Ghanaians are beginning to see the light and beginning to see their hopes, they are beginning to see, get a relief. Of course, you can't say that, when the prices are going high. It's as a result of the government, it's as a result of bad economic management and all that. But when the prices are going down, it's not. That sounds a little bit, let me put it this way, a little bit, those alluding to that, I think are being a bit hypocritical.
How so?
Because, you see, the measures the government has put in place is not only to reduce the prices of fuel, but also to help with the deficit and balance of payment, you know, because initially you just take the chunk of dollars, and the moment you take this chunk of dollars out of the country, and other business and then businesses and other people also go in for these same dollars. You know, that is what affected the cedi and dollar depreciation. And so this measure is to curb that challenge. So you don't go to the Bank of Ghana, go and empty the dollars there, and then create that challenge. And so the government quickly came with this fantastic initiative that, you know what, instead of them coming here, buy the gold, we'll put it at Bank of Ghana in dollars, take the dollars. No, let's leave the dollars in the country.
Okay.
Let's allow the dollars to circulate. Let the business community flow.
But is government not stepping into the terrain of the BDCs, because they are the ones who would usually bring you know, the crude into the country? Now they're saying that, and I remember when this policy was announced, COPEC spoke, a number of them spoke as well, and said that instead of finding a solution to that, how do you then, as a government, say that we would rather be the ones to bring the oil in exchange for gold? What have you done to support the BDC so that if it's the issue about finding about $400 million every month to buy crude, let's find a way to give them that rate, but at a good rate, so that they don't struggle to bring in the fuel at high prices, because that's what then affects the prices at the pump. But if you now step in as government and say, we're going to do the work of a, you know, an institution that already exists and does the work, you are taking away the food from their mouth and literally competing with them.
We are not competing with them. Government owns that responsibility. So if at some point in time they were added that responsibility, it's a collective thing we are doing. We are not taking it, but we are rather enhancing their work. We are making it easier for them. Of course, they are key players when it comes. They are all involved, and the struggle and the stress of going all over to get it done is rather minimized. And so it will rather go a long way to help them, and then help the ordinary Ghanaian, especially all those, I mean, all of us use fuel. Even if you don't use a vehicle yourself, you take your trotro, they also need it. And all the transport operators and beyond. And so I think that this is a good initiative. For me, the relief is that we are seeing signs. We are seeing it yielding results. And I think that any ordinary Ghanaian out there should support this laudable initiative.
Vera, how is it yielding results? Let's look at the international crude oil benchmark. It is falling. It's been falling since what? Sometime December. And so we know that once crude oil on the global markets falls, that also affects the price in here. So that aside, I mean, our foreign exchange rate has also been, you know, fluctuating, but at least in the last couple of weeks, we've seen it come down a bit. And that is what ASEP is saying, that if you look at all these factors, they are the ones that are probably affecting even the prices of the fuel at the pumps, and not necessarily gold for oil, because it's just been 3 months. You cannot come in 3 months and tout, you know, gold for oil as the reason why our fuel prices are going down. This is a key industry player who says that we are speaking to facts, and per the facts, this has got nothing to do with gold for oil.
It has got everything to do with gold for oil. You see, it's not just the international market prices alone that dictate the price here. Other factors are involved. And I'm saying that even with the cedi dollar rate you touched on, when it was going up, what did we say? Why is it that when it's going up, it's the fault of government? When it is coming down, no, we can't give credit to the government. That's very, very unfair. That's very unfair. The government consistently has communicated to the good people of this country that, you know what, we care, we are compassionate, we really are worried about the situation going on globally that is hitting this country. And therefore, we are putting in these measures to immediately, within the shortest possible time, to arrest the price increase. And within this short period, we've started seeing signs of depreciation of the prices. And then the CD is also gaining some strength. So what we need to do is probably commend and encourage the government to keep doing the right things. And then, like the Vice President indicated, between today and tomorrow, we are going to see further decrease in the prices of fuel. I mean, this is a relief to every Ghanaian. That is what we are all looking for. So it shouldn't be a matter of condemnation that, oh, prices are going up. And sometimes it makes me feel like, oh, most people probably, those who oppose the NPP probably are praying and excited to see the price go up, so the Ghanaian people get upset with us or something.
I don't think that's the situation, because everybody is looking for ways by which life can be better for every Ghanaian. I don't think that anybody has sat anywhere and said that gold for oil is a bad policy necessarily, unless you have heard. Because I've listened to opposition, I've listened to industry players, and they're saying that gold for oil is not such a bad idea. It's just a lot of questions that we're asking regarding how it's going to be implemented. Even in the beginning, the fact that the Deputy Energy Minister now agreed to the fact that you had to use money to pay for the oil that came in when we had been told that we're going to exchange it for gold.
Yeah, we are
so all those
exchanging it for
issues,
gold.
you're exchanging it for gold?
Yes.
But Honorable Andre Japamesa stated that the first time that we got the consignment, we had to pay cash for it.
He made a clarification on that. I mean, you know how people are always taken out of context. And he said because it was the first consignment, our friends out there we had the contract with, you know, the first consignment, they stood in and then did the payment, not that we took the money from Ghana and took it out there. So it was that bit that he was taken out of context. So the government did not take money, cash from Ghana. We took the gold out there, and then there was this intermediary that came in, and then they had to do that payment.
But that communication was not there from the beginning, that there was going to be an intermediary.
I think that
as far as the explanation that came out, we're told that government was just going to exchange the gold for the oil.
No, Bella, when anything comes into being, any new policy, normally it takes time to get all the facts out there. It takes time for people to even understand everything that concerns it. So I believe, I mean, it was the first time. So when the minister said that people, a lot of people, even probably within my own party, did not grasp what it was.
Because you failed to explain into detail?
They failed to explain it. People did not get it clear, but they continue to educate and explain, and now it's a bit clearer. And we will continue to engage, we will continue to explain, we continue to clarify things, and I think that going forward we'll get it even better. But for now, I think that what we need to do as Ghanaians, we need to continue to support the government. So I mean, so far as NPP will be in power up to 2024, and then I mean, it is our hope that we would continue, but that lies, the power lies with the ordinary Ghanaian. But for now, until 2024, I think that once things are getting better, the ordinary Ghanaians should support the government and encourage the government to do more to ensure that the prices go down further. For me, that is what really is the issue.
Beatrice, I remember watching Mr. Alex Moore, the former CEO of GNPC, and he even said that gold for oil policy is not even such a bad thing, except that he would have wished that Bank of Ghana would step in, because the real problem was getting access to the forex. Because a lot of these BDCs will buy, come and sell in cedis, and now have to change that cedi into dollar, and that was where the problem was. But if Bank of Ghana could have given them the dollars as the Bank of Ghana rates instead of the commercial rates, then maybe this would have resolved the problem instead of coming up with a new policy completely. Touch on that a little for me. And of course, based on what the Vice President is saying, that, well, regardless of what you people are saying, and for a lot of you hoping that it would have failed, now we're seeing the success of it and prices are going down.
Okay, Bella, sometimes when I listen to the Vice President, I feel that the statement that a man who loses honesty has nothing more to lose makes more meaning to me. Yesterday, I tried to indeed Google who the biggest liar in Ghana was, and I was surprised the trail of
What
the
did you see?
results. You can Google it. You Google it, and maybe you can show it on the screen, because you see, consistently, the Vice President is not learning on the job.
How so?
Either he's been genuinely ignorant about the energy industry, or some way, somehow, he's hoping that by telling a couple of lies about the good for oil, many people who do not understand the energy sector would come to accept what he's saying. Until I became a politician, I was a fellow with the IES.
Okay.
And the IES has constantly predicted pricing very accurately ever since its formation.
Yeah.
We have some parameters and some indicators that we use to do the prediction whether fuel prices was falling or whether fuel prices are rising. Now, it baffles me that anybody, no less a person than the Vice President, will make some of the statements that he's been making. And genuinely, I wish that these were being done by MPP foot soldiers and not the Vice President.
But he's the one that announced the policy.
No, because you see, the Vice President provides policy direction, not just any policy, but economic policy direction. And so, if this is his psyche and what he thinks about the energy sector and how we can solve the situation, genuinely, I'm a bit uncomfortable, because I can imagine a boardroom meeting where he'll be speaking about the good for oil and will be advancing why we should continue doing this. If this is his perspective, I'm a bit uncomfortable.
But you know that the Energy Ministry is literally running this along with
but
other ministries as well.
He's been the PRO for the gold for oil.
Well,
I think
indeed,
he speaks
but
more.
even yesterday when he spoke, he still mentioned the Energy Ministry.
Yes,
and
he
even,
mentioned PM.
Exactly.
So let me tell you why I think that the Vice President has been telling a lot of untruth and also has been very reckless in managing or speaking about this gold for oil. The monthly consumption of fuel, both diesel and petrol, for us is 300,000 metric tons.
Yeah.
140 for petrol and 160 for diesel.
165, yes.
For diesel. So just about 300,000 on a monthly basis. Now, the gold for oil policy was announced as far back as November.
Yeah.
The first consignment was received on 16th January. And some way, 16th and 18th February, we've received the two consignments. If you do the analysis, so far, we've received just about 115,000 metric tons, which is not even enough for a monthly consumption in the country. So if somebody tells you that in a space of 5 months, I have brought you gold for oil that cannot even supply you for a month, but some way, somehow, that is what is accounting for the reduction, then you know that even if you are not an industry player, you know from the word go he lied. Because you see, in January, Brent price, world oil price, was $87 per barrel.
Yeah.
In February, it reduced to 86. As I speak to you yesterday, the moment I arrived from Ahafo and I heard him say that, I checked again. It's a 74.47. And so fuel prices on the international market is reducing. It is the reason fuel prices are reducing, not because of gold for oil. And for God's sake, we have to be truthful to the people. In determining fuel prices, there are 3 components. 1, the exchange rate. 2, taxes. 3, international fuel prices. Taxes, we can say they are fixed until the government revises same. Now, the exchange rate fluctuates. And so the reason we blame government when fuel prices are going up while international price remained stable is because of the fluctuation of the exchange rate. And he told us that when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. And so when you are importing fuel or you're doing the price builder for petroleum products, and the reason is not international fuel prices and taxes as the other two components, but exchange rate, we blame government. Because they told us that the CD which was 4 CD2, the dollar which was 4 CD20 pesos was just outrageous, and that our fundamentals were so exposed. Today, Dr. Bawumia is telling us that we should celebrate because our CD is 13 CDs, and because of the stability of the 13 CDs, he has brought some 115,000 metric tons, which cannot even supply us for a month, and we should celebrate it. I think that in all honesty, our leaders must begin to know that the people they govern, some are even more intelligent than them.
Did he speak a little too early? Is that where the problem is? Because it's just been 3 months or so.
Dr. Bawumia has always been a rash speaker. If you listen to his lectures before he became the vice president, it appears to me that he imports classical economic theories into modern economy. And so some way, somehow, the kind of things he learned in the classroom, the Adam Smith, the Tobin Q, all the economic theory, when, the world was industrialized and those things have no bearing in modern economics today. But some way, somehow, he's fixated. And there was a day I watched him say that if you learn something in the classroom, you should be able to import it, and that is where your relevance lies. I say that we have a big problem with the vice president. And this is the man in charge of our economic policy. So you should not be surprised that under his leadership, every macroeconomic indicator is 40 years behind because he seems not to understand modern economics. It appears to me that he's still going by the classical economics, those old economics, because he speaks too early. He doesn't analyze the matters. The second reason he gave for the goal for oil policy that he said we should tout him is that it's to stabilize the exchange rate.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this morning I'm a bit sad.
Is that not possible?
Oh, you see, let's get very serious in this country. When the CD was experiencing a free fall sometime between November or even October to December last year, the government copiously told us that Ghana was largely an import-driven economy. And so until we changed the structure of the economy, until we took decisions that will make sure that our exports exceeded our imports, we will have issues with the exchange rates. That reasoning to a larger extent will be true.
Yeah.
Then you have a country that imports pharmaceutical products annually to the tune of $750 million. You have cars and spare tire, $2 billion. You have iron and steel, $1.2 billion. Even tissue paper. Tissue paper is almost, and toothpick, more than 200 million. And then tomato from even Burkina Faso is $100 million. So if you have majority of these importations with the quantum of monies I have mentioned to you, and you import 115 metric tons, at what price? That's even less than $400 million. So how is it that with the price, if you look at the average thing we spend about 400 million on importing fuel into this country on a month. You have done less than a month importation. So assuming you even did a month and you use 400, how is it that the challenges that confront our exchange rates has all of a sudden been solved by a month importation of fuel? So you see the people who are governing and managing your economy, the people who say that they have PhD in economics and for which reason they were coming to stabilize the economy, you see their reasoning. So unless it's for political reason, this has no basis in economics. And as a first-year student in economics know this. And it hurts me that these are the people that are going to make decisions that govern the lives of all of us. And this is the trajectory of their thoughts. It's very worrying.
But Beatrice, to be fair, are you saying that the go for oil policy in itself was not even needed at all?
I'm saying that before you can say that the goal for oil has had impact, you should be doing more than maybe 70% of the total importation.
Okay, but this is a start. This is a start.
So
as it stands now, we're talking about 30%.
So that is why
of our consumption is what we bring.
So no, it's not even 30%.
Well, the MPA spoke and they said just about 30%.
See, the MPA's own data shows that annually we consume above 3 million metric tons. So if you bring how do you call it? 150 metric tons. It is not even up to 10%.
Well, let's listen to him. Let's listen to the rep from the NPA who gave a breakdown, because he was asked specifically that if we're doing about 150,000 metric tons of petrol and about 165,000 metric tons of diesel monthly as consumption, and we're bringing in just about 44,000, 41,000, how do you then justify the level of consumption against what we have brought in? This is what he had to say.
We have received 5 cargoes under the program. 3 of these cargoes are diesel and 2 are petrol. In January, we received 1 diesel cargo, which was about 41,000 metric tons. In the month of February, we received another diesel cargo, which was also about 42,000 metric tons. And in this month, we received another diesel cargo, which is about 42,000 metric tons as well. So since January, we've received 1 diesel cargo per month. For petrol, we've received 2 cargos so far, and we received 1 in February, and which was about 30,000 metric tons, and we received another in March, which was about 37,000. Petrol is average about 133,000 metric tons of petrol per month, and we do about 135,000 metric tons of diesel a month. So if we look at what has come in January, the cargo that arrived, the diesel cargo was about 31% of diesel's consumption. In February, as I mentioned, we received 1 petrol cargo and 1 diesel cargo each in February. And for the petrol, that's about 22% of the petrol's consumption and about 31% of diesel's consumption. So averagely, you are looking at about 30% of the consumption of each of the products. So that's the percentage that these cargoes that have come in with, about 30% of consumption per month.
All right, so that's the MPA saying about 30% of our consumption is what we've had coming in. But let me let Nanaya come in.
I'm challenging the MPA by their own data. This is not 30% of our consumption.
All right, Nanaya, what do you make of the whole back and forth, about this, and the fact that even as we're sitting now, our level of consumption is not what we're even getting from the gold for oil policy. So how is this then fixing the problem of fuel prices at the pumps, like the Vice President is saying?
You see, Bella, sometimes the theoretical imprint of Dr. Bawumia is as if he's not in touch with reality. And what are the implications? What are the ramifications? This gold for oil, what is it all about? Do you get me? Today, this one is saying that, tomorrow somebody is saying something else. I was just glancing through my phone and I saw the prices of gold, ounces, grams. They are in dollars. So then how do you say that you are buying the gold in cedis? Who will sell? In Ghana, we don't have gold, our own gold. We buy gold to stock. And we buy it from all these mining companies.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether Galamsey Gold too is part of it. I heard you saying that small scale
and artisanal mining.
So I don't know which gold. So how are we buying it in cedis? At what exchange rate? Is there a special exchange rate for the gold? Because if I am a miner and I'm selling my gold, I want to sell it at the rate that is on the market. I'm not going to sell it less. Unless there's somebody in government who is a miner, is mining gold, whether Galamsey, small scale, whatever, and they are using it to do the butter. Because in my mind, it does not make sense. Do you understand? It does not really make sense that this is what it is. It does not make sense that this gold for oil will make our city strong. The amount of money that is needed as an exchange rate to purchase imports is not only in the oil industry. We have even poultry industry. We import almost everything. And I thought that when the government talked about their import substitution arrangements, by now they would have sped up whatever it is for us to start cutting off some of these commodities. There's a committee, and always we form committees, and we don't know what comes out of it. So to single out to say that it is the imports for gold that is making our exchange rate, weak, our CD weak, then it's problematic. We would then put it to Ukraine and COVID. Yesterday I was looking at the inflation rate of Russia. Russia at the height of the war, the inflation rate of 15.47%. Now, they have managed, even in war, to get to 11.17. The Ukraine, where the bombs are flying all over the place, their inflation is 22%. Ours is 50-something%. We celebrate some form of mediocrity when it is maybe a 1% off or something, and that is not good enough. Bella, at the end, I always look at the end stage of it. How much do you buy a fuel for? I was doing some calculation that even if there is a reduction of between 3 to 10%, then we are doing something like maybe 65 to 62%, 62 cedis per a gallon. Not even a liter. A liter is about 13 point something. And you see, when you talk about it, they tell you that you are speaking for somebody. But the truth of the matter is, in 2017, how much was a liter of fuel? And today, we are buying a liter for 13 cedis. That 13, 14 cedis was the price of a gallon of fuel. Now a gallon is 67 cedis. And how do you say that that is cheap? If you tell me, even if you come down to maybe 24, 25, then I'm seeing an impact. But if I have 100 cedis and 100 cedis cannot buy me 2 gallons of fuel, and I sit in traffic the whole day, what is it? What is the reduction? And there are build-up taxes on the fuel. We have the even COVID-19 levy is there. We have all manner of that. The ESLA is there. That has been collateralized to interest payments on loans. They are all there. On building up on the fuel. So what is making it go up? The world price has come down. As Beatrice said, 74.17. It's come down. That is the Brent. It is down. So is it the gold for oil that is accounting for it? But the point is that you see the next moment, there will be a lot of scandals around this because we don't even know what is in there. We don't even know the processes that they are using to purchase the gold. Where are they purchasing it from? They said Bank of Ghana. Where is Bank of Ghana getting it from? How much gold has Bank of Ghana got in their stock, in their bullion? How much gold? How sustainable is this one? We need to be able to interrogate it. We need to be able to know what goes in there. Because you just talk about it, and you have not been able to even get a consignment for continuously 3 months.
We have. Isn't that what they said?
Continuously and more. We need it for a year to know that it is coming. Because let's say that, okay, we have 3 months. How has it impacted? You see, a minimal reduction, which is still high. Unless they are out of touch, it is still high. If I'm driving a trotro, it is high. For me to buy fuel at 67 cedis a gallon, it is not 13 cedis. When you compute all of them times 4.5, you get 67 cedis a gallon. I am an Uber driver. I drive a Bolt. I drive Yango. These are the commercial ones, where the ordinary Ghanaians patronize. I drive an Aboboya. I buy 60. If Aboboya uses 1 gallon, it's 67 cedis. Bella, so what are you talking about? What is the glorification about reduction? What has reduced? If I buy a gallon of a fuel for 67 cedis, when my pay a day is not 67 cedis. When the public transport system in Ghana is non-existent, so for me to be able to get to work on time, I have to get myself a car.
Or leave home extra early.
Or leave home extra. Even that doesn't work, I'm telling you. You will be standing there. By the time the car passes by, it is full. Because from the main station, it is full before it passes by where you are standing.
Yeah.
It's possible that where you live and the main station, there's a distance. A distance between. When I'm going home in the evening, anytime I get to a station and there are people standing there, I take the women and ask them where they are going. 3 of them can fit in my car. So that if you are going towards my area, then I'll pick you. Because, Bella, the point is that sometimes it is sad that you find the women standing there. Any car that comes around, it is full. Maybe one person will get down at the station.
Yeah.
Let me use this 37 or Perbia place. There's a trotro station, a station there. When you get there, people are just standing. Get to the airport, there's another station there in front of the customs. You see people just standing there because our public transport system is not good enough. Go to the UK. We are always, saying that go to the UK. UK has a good public transport system. We started with the Metro Mass. What happened? When we were kids, there was the OSA buses. We had the blue, red, green. And they were running very, very well. At the time, when the CPP was in power with Kwame Nkrumah, there was a good transport system. Even in 1979, when we were in power, there was a good public transport system. And over time, we have not been able to develop it. Every government that comes to power is talking about the rail system. Why have we not been able to put money into the rail system? Because you see, Bella, if we have trains running all over, taking us to the center, there wouldn't be any need for this gold for oil and whatever, because then most people will park their cars at home and pick the train. Bella, when you are driving in the morning, you do a census of the cars passing by. Most of them is only one person in the car. At most 2, somebody and their wife or husband. And we are using money to buy fuel because the public transport system is wrong, it's bad. If our exchange rates, our city was strong, there was no need for gold for oil.
At all?
At all. Because everything that is bringing up the problem, so because you see, if there is a reduction in crude oil prices worldwide and your exchange rates is not good, your money has depreciated so much that you have to change more to get less. Certainly there will be a burden. And that is where the burden is. Because as for the oil, it has been reduced. But your economy is not strong enough.
But that's why government is saying, I'm taking the burden from you, the BDCs, because you are the ones who are struggling to find the dollars so you can buy the fuel. I'm taking that away from you, and I'm the one that's going to shoulder that burden now and look for a better way to bring in the fuel at a better price so that we can all benefit.
See, one thing that we don't think about is the sustainability of our interventions. Instead of us making sure that we reduce the pressure on our city to remove some of the imports and make some internal industrialization, produce made in Ghana goods, eat made in Ghana goods, consume made in Ghana goods, so that the pressure on the city is reduced. Let's assume that most of our products are produced in Ghana. Let's assume that we have about 60% export penetration, and that most of the products we are producing, they are being exported, and some exchange rate is coming in. And maybe most of our pressures are on pharmaceuticals and oil. Do you think we'll go through this? Because then the pressure is only on these 2 commodities. And also, we have so much exports going now, so much USD coming in. Because when you export, suddenly they pay for it and you get money in your country. Do you think we'll go through this? We wouldn't have so much chasing the dollar. Do you get me?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have so much, because the only reason why we are here is because the fundamentals are weak. And the fundamentals are weak and our money is weak. So I need more to buy this pen if it is from abroad. I need more to buy water because water is from here, but the ingredients that is used to produce the bottle might not be found here. So that today, some water is selling for 22 cedis, which used to be 12 cedis, which used to be 10 cedis. Today, tissue paper, the round one, which used to be 15 cedis, is now selling for 45 cedis.
Yeah.
Now, a bunch of tea roll, which used to be 12 cedis, is now selling for 48 cedis. Why? They are imported.
So that is what we should address instead of now looking for money to go and buy.
When you get a sore on your leg, suffix, you get up in the morning, there is a sore. You have not fallen down, nothing has cut your leg. The doctor should go inside, internal, to find out what is causing the sore. You might be diabetic. Maybe there's something wrong.
Okay.
There will be an interrogation of the fundamentals. So there should be an interrogation of why this is happening to our city, the weakness of it.
Okay.
So once we are able to find out why it is weak and what are the measures to ensure to make it strong, we don't need all these things. Gold for oil, because how long are you going to sustain that? We don't have the gold is not for us. We used to have 55% share.
Yeah.
Now we have about 3%. The rest is, okay, small scale. It is still in private hands. Has government got gold? Is government mining gold on this? Is there a Ghana gold mining company?
No, but the Vice President said that for those of you who are doubting that there's gold, there's actually gold, which is why we're exchanging.
There's no doubt that there is gold, but who does the gold belong to?
Okay.
Can you just leave the gold and say it is mine? I'm not going to pay for it. I've given you the prices.
Yeah.
Do you get me? I've given you the prices. Can you just leave the gold? Because even a kilo of gold is about 61 point something dollars, which is very close to the crude oil price.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
Okay.
It's almost synonymous.
Well, we'll take a break at this point, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. If there's time, we'll go into the issue about Anas and, of course, Honorable Kennedy Japan. But as it stands now, we're told that Ghana spends some $100 million annually to import toilet rolls and tissue. Now, that's not all. If you look at how much we even spend on tomatoes in the country, it says that we spend about $400 million on tomatoes. We spend quite a lot on the imports of onions as well, trying to get that number. And finally, another one, about $300 million worth of chicken annually is what we spend. As at 2021, we had spent over $600 million to import chicken into the country. There's a wider conversation on how we can even address some of these concerns so we can reduce the pressure on the city. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation. You're welcome back. The conversation continues. Vera is here representing the NPP, Nanaya Chimpim Janto for the CPP, and Beatrice Annan Esquire for the NDC. Vera, I mean, if you listen to the conversations that we've had from both sides, clearly, gold for oil is not the solution at this point. I mean, if you're looking at how much we're spending on imports alone, and even onion now, we're told that as of 2020, we imported about $21.9 million in onions. I mean, it might sound like it's small, but this is $1 million. That's a lot of money that we don't have the city that is required to even get the forex to import some of these things. When we could be producing, especially when your government had told us that we're going to rely more on production and not taxation, how is it that 6-7 years down the line, we're still where we are, still importing huge amounts of some of these products that we should be able to produce in our own country?
Thank you, Bella. This is a fantastic question. You know, that's one reason why I appreciate you. You see, this is the very reason why the Nana Akufo-Addo government said, looking at where we were when we took up this governance in 2016, let me say January 2017. That was the reason why we initiated the One District, One Factory. You know, Bella, the reason being that even with this importation back then, in the NDC, in all the eras before the Akufo-Addo's government, all these importations were being done while the fuel was also being bought. It's not as if in the past it was a different story, but the difference now is that the government has initiated the One District, One Factory, and currently the production cannot meet the current demand. Therefore, some items have been restricted from being imported, whilst the others are going side by side. Then gradually we expand, gradually we try and meet the demands. And so you can't just take a day and say, you know what, we are expanding tomato production, therefore let's ban tomato importation outright. So that is one reason. And then Bella, let me quickly chip this in. You know, I believe in always sticking to the topic and the content and within its rightful context. Well, whenever you start calling people names and all that, then I am compelled to at least also touch on that. You see, the persistent word lies that was used by my sister. You know, when we want to go by that, and the castigation against the vice president, I don't think that has got anything to do with making our submission. Because if we are going to go that line and talk about, and then go and Google who is the biggest liar and who is that, all the governments that have passed and even current, we all have our challenges. So when the issue is being discussed, we go on it, we give our opinions or what we think it is. Because we were also in this country, you know, Bella, when the former President Mahama, who seeks to come back again, told Ghanaians that we will do one-time national health insurance premium payment. It never came into being. But we never went on rampage to say that, oh, he's a liar, he's a liar, he's a liar.
You didn't. You called him incompetent. I mean,
Yes.
that literally became his name.
Now, the incompetence, Bella, the incompetence, when she was saying that, you didn't hear me doing this kind of thing.
The laughter? I can't stop Beatrice from laughing there.
So then when she's doing hers, I am also entitled to do
No, I'm not
same.
saying, but I don't think that she's interrupting you. She
She
laughed
is.
at that. So
She
you wouldn't
is.
want her to laugh when you're making your statements?
Not that kind of laughter.
Okay.
So if we want to go that way, the incompetence, we said so because when you are a president and there are energy crisis, when there is doom so, and you say that because people are overcharging their phones, that is causing the doom so. Of course, any ordinary Ghanaian will tag you as being incompetent because charging of phones cannot cause doom so. Do you get my point? If you claim that you are trying to solve or bridge the gap between the North and the South with initiatives, and then you initiate this guinea fowl farming, and we don't see it, and we say you are incompetent, we know why we are saying that. Or when you say, oh, I will try and solve the educational sector gap and challenges, and so within 4 years, I'm going to build 200 e-blocks, and within the 4 years, you are not even able to do 30. And we come as an opposition party to yours, now in government, and we build more than you did within that same duration.
How many more have you built?
Currently, we have done almost 35, and you couldn't do 30. Secondly,
How many did they do?
They did around 24.
Okay.
Then the ones that was completed.
And you have built 35?
Do you get me? And secondly,
In 6 years?
less than 6 years. I mean, the first
I don't
4
think
years.
that Ghanaians will be happy with even the difference in numbers, because really, I thought you'd say that you built maybe about 100, 200.
No, I'm talking
then Ghanaians
about
would
the
understand
fully
the
completed
difference.
ones. Are you getting me? You
Okay.
initiate something. You initiate something. You couldn't do a quarter. You initiate something and say you complete the entire thing in 4 years. And in that 4 years, you couldn't do a quarter.
You've had 6 years.
Even the Adenta Medina Road footbridge, that was left. Only that one couldn't be done. So when we say he's incompetent, that was the reason why we said that. Because the private sector was plunged into doom, so was collapsing every sector. But when you say someone is a liar, based on what? Because we took this governance, and then in 2017, 2018, 2019, things were very, very good. Are you getting it? So
when you took over, things were very good.
I'm saying when we took over from 2017, 2018, 2019, it was MPP government that was in power. It was the same government. It was the same vice president. Are you getting it? Where everything was moving very well until the 2020 issue that plunged the whole world into economic crisis. And currently, we are coming out of it, and the indicators are showing inflation is coming down, the fuel prices is coming down, exchange rate, the CD is gaining some strength. These are all indications.
But people have been forced to sign on to domestic debt exchange program. Even if you say that, you know, they weren't forced necessarily, but we all know that some of them were barely even given a choice. Now, if you look at all these people, and if you look at the things that, you know, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had said in opposition and how he touted, you know, the competency of the NPP government, and you look at the situation now, don't you think that Ghanaians to a large extent have a right to criticize not just him, but every government official who was in the past saying we can do better, came into power and we're not seeing much happening?
We love criticism. We want Ghanaians to criticize us so that we can always be on our toes. But the name calling and the insult is not criticism. That's my point. And so looking at where we were before 2020 and now speaks for itself that yes, Ghanaians have entrusted this country in capable hands. And,
have they?
And
the city depreciated by 60%.
Yes, and now
and
what
you
is
are
the
saying
story?
What, capable hands?
And today, is it coming? Is it gaining strength or not? It is.
I mean, if we're looking at 12 cities, it's still pretty high.
So 23 to 12, from 23 to 12, it is gaining strength, and we need to encourage that. We need to criticize government. We need to encourage that.
We're talking about the city, not fuel, by the way.
So if it was around 15 and it is
16
12,
and 17 in some cases.
So my sister, what it means is that it's gaining strength. So what I will encourage Ghanaians to do is to encourage the government that, you know what, the positive things, measures you've put in place, continue to do it so that within the shortest possible time, things will go down further.
Is your government listening to advice?
We are listening.
Are you listening to advice?
That is why we are putting measures in place.
Like?
We are talking about gold for oil this morning. We've put in place the factories that I've just touched on that this morning. We are still pushing. We are still resourcing.
There's a documentary about one district, one factory that a sister station has done. And one of the factories that they looked at was actually a gas cylinder company. Now they're saying that when they signed on, things look good. And then, unfortunately, the Chinese government decided to bring in more cylinders. So now nobody is buying their cylinders. And they have over 200,000 gas cylinders sitting in their warehouse. Nobody is buying it. It's locked up. Why? Because, yes, one district, one factory, fantastic policy maybe, but it doesn't even stop everybody else from outside bringing in their own products to come and sell here. So we are not really fixing the problem like we should. There are some places where we're told that there are factories, but when you go there, you can't even find the factories.
My sister, you and I know that we have a lot of the factories functioning. We have some of their products in the market. And I keep saying that currently you cannot use a year or two to meet all the demands. And therefore, side by side, gradually we get there. And that is why at the moment we've been very proactive to restrict certain products from being imported. That is why we are doing the gold for oil currently. I mean, plus other measures to ensure that within the president said maximum of 22 months, and I know he just gave that maximum duration, but it will be less than that. And we've already started seeing the signs. And so I will continue to encourage everyone.
We've seen the signs of fuel going down,
We've seen the prices going down.
But the stakeholders are telling you that, unfortunately, it is not as a result of gold for oil. How come you're still very adamant and you're not even considering, I mean, glaring facts about global fuel prices and the fact that that is probably what has contributed to where we are today?
Global fuel prices went very low under previous government. What was the...
We weren't buying fuel at 23 Ghana cedis.
No. Please. So many factors come into being, like you said. And so don't use only the price at the world market. When the prices of fuel was high in Ghana, you solely said it is the NPP government recklessness, it is the NPP's mismanagement. You didn't say the prices at the world market is high, that is why fuel is high. They lambasted the government everywhere.
You didn't accept it anyway.
Now, government said, okay, if you say I am responsible, I am putting practical measures in place to ensure that I relieve the ordinary Ghanaian. These measures have been put in place. The relief, we are seeing it. It will go down further. And now, the very people saying that it is the government that is causing it, now the government is helping to put measures in place to reduce it. You are saying we shouldn't attribute the success to the government.
Your own government official, a key government official, had this to say about gold for oil. Let's quickly take a look.
Makes sense to you, so also gold, would you cut oil? Gold for oil. Why don't you sell your gold, make the money and go and buy the oil and go through a middleman? Me man go school, but economics you know gumitri mo keke. Man go school. Simple things that we can do, and I'm surprised. You see, we have the men. We are hailing this. We are hailing gold for oil. Jesus Christ.
And that's Honorable Kennedy Ejipong, and he's asking questions about gold for oil, whether it was even an important policy to implement in the first place. Beatrice, what do you say to this? I mean, well, unfortunately, I don't have time. If I have time, I'll come back to you. But I have to move on. I'll come back to you later.
I will start from where Kennedy Ejipong ended. Jesus Christ, that's the only response you can give. You know, sometimes when you hear government communicators speak, including the vice president and everybody, it's as though they are in a state of self-aggrandizement. They've left the real world and transcended into some utopian world, that the citizens are in Ghana and they perhaps are on a different planet. I can't. Sometimes I get goose pimples that these are the people who sit in the room, drink tea with our taxes and hold meetings and come to a conclusion that this is what we should do to make Ghana develop.
But Vera says you can criticize, but the name calling should stop.
Which name calling? Dr. Bawumia is not only incompetent, he's reckless. And so I would even start calling him reckless Bawumia.
He was kicked out.
Can she?
So you see, you're just talking. Hold on.
Because
Vera, please allow her. When you were speaking, she didn't interject. But you're talking about name calling and how that should cease. But now you're calling former President Mahama a liar. I mean, we don't need to equalize here. That's why I have drawn her attention to it. So you let her speak.
So
let her speak.
Dr. Bawumia has been very reckless with every policy decision he's made. Look at the Sino-Hydro deal that he made similar noise about, like the gold for oil. Today, the reason our debt to GDP is 104 is because the Sino-Hydro deal, which we were told was butter, has been added. He seems not to have the discretion to make any decision as a leader. Look at what he did with the PDS scandal, that he changed the guarantee to an insurance guarantee. So the man has no policy credibility. What policy analysts say policy credibility, he doesn't have. Today, the MPP is touting one district, one factory. When you put the question to them, that these factories are complaining that the impacts are not being felt. They are telling you that, but they are doing it. So for them, it just has to be done so that when they come on air, they can just mention one district, one factory.
But is the initiative not even good enough?
It doesn't matter. You see, it matters not what your intentions are. What matters is whether it translates into real livelihood improvement. That is the policy of the NDC. And so you will not see us scream slogans. If you have to build schools, build. Don't come and say one school, one district. That's not it.
They say you built less than 30. They've built 35.
You see, as for that one, she doesn't even know about it. I would talk about the Minister
Vera, please.
I'll talk about the Minister of Education's presentation on the floor of Parliament, Napu, when he said that the NDC completed 47 of the second year. I think that Parliamentary Hansard should be taken over what people say. But the most important thing is that, and any time I watch the consistent pattern of policy confusion and inconsistency on the part of the NPP. I salute President John Mahama, not because I speak for him. You know what?
Bella.
The One District, One Factory is being funded by Exim Bank. Bella, who brought Exim Bank? The vision of the man was that we should have more export than import. And then they came and saw money with Exim Bank, and they had to share it to party foot soldiers who were business people. That is why you're not feeling the impact. Now, when it comes to...
You share the money for party. Hold on, Vera,
yes.
Hold on.
Yes. I know a lot of MPP business people who benefited from One District, One Factory. One District. Yes. A lot of them.
Mention two.
They are party people. Because every Ghanaian who applied, and those who applied through the system, they didn't get. The people who shared COVID money.
You said everyone who applied and didn't belong to the party didn't get.
I know. I don't know of any. I don't know of any NDC. I don't know of any NDC business person who benefited.
But do you know of someone who probably doesn't belong to either party?
I don't know of any.
But you know MPP.
I don't know of any.
But the fact that you don't know doesn't mean that some people
So
who
I'm
don't belong
talking about
to
the one I know. So let me make the point about you.
So
see,
like who?
The same way you don't expect me to mention the person's name.
But if you're making a statement like
you don't expect me to mention the person's name. They should tell us that the people are not MPP. Now, this is the government that has shrouded. This is a government that has shrouded everything in secrecy. As we are speaking, you appoint a middleman. We are not being told the profit margin of the gold for oil. You're saying we cannot question you because when we question you, we are questioning the policy. Meanwhile, the gold is for us. And Dr. Bawumia made the point that the gold at Bank of Ghana was just 8.1 metric tons. So where are we getting the others and how much gold? The NPP must begin to realize that Ghana is not their personal property. That each of us have a stake in it. And if it is time for us to question what they are doing, we might just as well call Dr. Bawumia who he is. If it's been reckless, it's been reckless. We don't have any adjective to describe him than to say that you are reckless.
No worries.
But what makes them think that they can call someone incompetent and they cannot be called reckless? When today they cannot even compare themselves to what President John Mahama did.
Let me bring
should
Nanaya
get over
in.
themselves.
Let me bring Nanaya in. Koko, please pardon me. Give me just a few minutes so Nanaya can also speak.
Bella, what do you want me to say?
Well, final words. I mean, we have to go. But if you look at the back and forth, and the question I asked about even quotations.
Take all the time.
Oh, so you are good. You don't need to say anything.
Allegation against my party.
What do I have to say now?
Well, she said she won't mention it. I can't force her to mention it. She won't mention it.
She should sue. She can sue. She can sue.
Beatrice went into another.
Yeah, but what do you say even about Kennedy Ejapong and the fact that he's a party member? And even him has come out to complain about gold for policy and saying that we don't even need it in the first place.
No, but I mean, what he's trying to say is that the price of gold, as we were talking, is almost synonymous to the oil. So why not sell the gold and get the money to buy the oil? And he just questions it like everybody is questioning it. They want to know exactly what it's made up of. What is in there? Who and who are involved? This middleman, what are the terms? This is for Ghana. And we need to really know exactly what it is. If it is good for Ghana, why not? But there are so many questions around it. And truly, we do not think that it is working as it should. Because as we have to look at all the commodities that are imported, Nigeria closed up their economy to build their local industry. And that even Ghanaians were not able to go into trade. There was nothing coming in, going out. They closed their economy to build their economy locally. And we can do that. We have the capacity to do that.
Are we doing it? That's the question.
If the government take charge of the factors of production in every arena, truly, it will work.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Vera Redu is a member of the NPP communications team. Nanaya Chimpim-Jantwa, the General Secretary for the CPP. And the spokesperson for John Dramani Mahama's campaign, lawyer Beatrice Annan. We'll be back with some more. This is TV3 New Day. A big thank you to Sheila Bonsu for styling me. As always, we'll be back.